Hi everyone. With how long yesterday's video was, again, I am so sorry. I never intend to make 15-minute videos. I was unable to ask a question of you, which I wanted to do. I had to cut that out. So I want to know what kind of music you love. I love country music, and I know that's not the most popular kind of music, but I really enjoy that their stories and they speak to me. And I absolutely love Carrie Underwood. She has an amazing voice, and I don't even know how she hits all of those notes that she hits. She just is super impressive to me. So let me know what kind of music you love. I'm very interested to hear if there's any music I should be checking out these days. All right, what we're doing today is exactly the same thing as what we did yesterday. It's just that we're going to end up with some special cases, and we need a little trick or two to get us to factor these types of quadratic functions. Notice in our first example here, we do have that x squared term. It is a quadratic function, but there's no regular plain old x term. So how do we factor with t-chart when there's no b value or coefficient of x to add to? So we are going to create an x term. Now, how can we just add an x term in? Wouldn't that change the problem? It would if we gave x a coefficient other than 0, but 0 times x is just 0, and when you add 0, you do not change the value of the expression that you started with. So now when we set up our t-chart, we're still thinking about what multiplies to this number on the end, that constant. So we're thinking about what multiplies to negative 16, and now we are adding to 0. I'm going to run through my process, the full process, one more time for those of you that are not real strong with your multiplication and adding facts. So the first thing we're thinking about is, how do we multiply to a negative number? You need one positive and one negative. So if I have 1 times 16, I can just choose one of those to make negative because I'm adding to 0. So I kind of need to figure out what's going on here. Negative 1 plus 16, if I have $16 and I spend 1, I have 15. Okay, so that didn't work. I'm going to try negative 2 times 8. Negative 2 plus 8 gives me 6. That didn't work. 3 does not go into 16, but 4 does. Negative 4 times 4. Well, what's negative 4 plus 4? That adds to 0. I basically just spent all of my money. I have no money left. So now when I factor this, it becomes x minus 4 times x plus 4. By the way, I forgot to mention this in the video yesterday. It does not matter which order you put these in. We are multiplying, and you can multiply in any order. So if your answer was set up x plus 4, x minus 4, it is still correct. We're going to practice another one of those. Again, we are missing the x term. So the first thing that I'm going to do is put a 0x term in so that I have all the pieces that I need to set up my t-chart. And I apologize for my writing. It was actually not too bad yesterday. I was pretty impressed. All right, so now we are multiplying to this constant on the end, the term with no variable, negative 81, and adding to that 0 term that we put in the middle. So 1 times, this time I'm going to try negative 81. 1 plus negative 81 is negative 80. Again, multiplying to a negative, we need one positive, one negative. 2 does not go into 81. 3 does. 3 times, I'm going to try negative 27. 3 plus negative 27 would be negative 24. 4 does not go into 81, nor does 5, 6, 7, or 8. So now we're on 9. 9 times negative 9. 9 plus negative 9 is 0. So we found those numbers that work. Factoring this, we get y equals x plus 9 times x minus 9. Now, hopefully some of you have seen a pattern on these first two so far. The number on the end, that constant, is what's called a perfect square because you will end up with two numbers that you're multiplying by itself to get that value. That's the only way to add to 0 is if you've got those two numbers that are the same, and when you add them, they cancel each other out. So let's see if we can try that shortcut on this one. We're still going to put that 0 term in the middle, although I will say, if you figured out the pattern and you don't need that middle term, that's okay. You don't have to show it. But we are thinking about what multiplies to -49 and adds to 0. In order to add to 0, we need those numbers to be the same, but opposite signs. So what number times itself gives us 49? And that would be 7. So 7 times -7 is a -49. And 7 plus -7 will cancel each other out, leaving us with 0. So we're going to factor this as x plus 7 and x minus 7. That was the first type of special example. Now we're going to see another type of special quadratic function. This time we have no constant. We have an x squared term, we have an x term, but we are missing the number on the end. So I can just go ahead and add 0. Adding 0 does not change the value of the equation. So now this time I'm multiplying to 0, that constant, and adding, still thinking about this b term or the coefficient of x. Remember, a coefficient is a number that you multiply by a variable. Now in this case, there are literally millions of different ways to multiply by 0, as long as one of those numbers is 0, right? Well, which number do we need to multiply by 0 to add to -5? Of course, that's -5, because 0 plus -5 will give us -5. Factoring this, we get x plus 0 and x minus 5. Now, for those of you that want to stop here, that's fine. For those of you that are a little bit more advanced math students, I would like you to think about the fact that this simplifies. What happens when you add 0? Nothing happens. So x plus 0 is just regular plain old x, and you can go ahead and pull it out of the parentheses at that point, and then we leave the x minus 5 alone. All right, taking a look at another example like that, we have no number that's on the end, so we're going to add 0 before we set up our t-chart. We're thinking about what multiplies to 0, and this time we are adding to 13. Well, we know we need 0 to multiply by 0, so what number do we want to multiply by in order to add to 13? Well, that's 13, because 0 plus 13 gives us 13. Again, go ahead and set this up with your x plus 0, and then we have an x plus 13. For those of you that are more advanced, I would like you to practice that simplifying. That'll help you get prepared for Algebra 2 a little bit better. X plus 0 is regular plain old x. You can pull it out of the parentheses at that point, and then we leave our x plus 13 alone. Last type, and this one might not look special because we have an x squared term and an x term and a number, so we don't have to do anything to it to start to set up our t-chart. We're multiplying to the constant and adding to the coefficient of x. What numbers multiply to 16 and add to 8? 4 times 4 gives me 16, and 4 plus 4 gives me 8. Notice, kind of like the first one, it's the same number, but this time they also have the same sign. What happens when you multiply something by itself? Again, if you want to stop here and be done, that is just fine. For you more advanced math students, I would love for you to practice The simplifying, you would get x plus 4 squared, because that's what it means when you multiply something by itself. You're squaring it. Last one, setting up that t-chart. What multiplies to 64 and adds to a negative 16? So this time, because we're multiplying to a positive and adding to a negative, we're going to have two negative numbers. And those numbers are negative 8 times negative 8. Negative 8 plus negative 8 gives me a negative 16. Same thing, setting up those parentheses, we have an x minus 8 and an x minus 8. Stop there if you need to. If you are capable, please take a look. You got the same thing twice. That means you are squaring the x minus 8. All right, I apologize that we ended up with another kind of long video. I hope you're hanging in there with me. As a reminder, Friday is a catch-up day. If you need a break, take a break and use that Friday to get caught up. Take care of yourselves. Take time to enjoy. Hopefully, you are able to enjoy the sunshine. I'm recording this about a week out from you watching it, so I'm not sure what the weather will be like exactly. But if it's sunny, take your iPad outside, enjoy the sun, and take care of yourselves. And I will see you tomorrow.